Very busy Friday afternoon here in downtown Providence. Just had Governor Gina Raimondo in to talk with a number of issues facing the state moving forward now since her State of the State address. I'd now like to welcome in the Speaker of the House. He's been here before, Speaker Mattiello.
Hi, Kate.
Thanks for coming in today. I appreciate it.
Oh, wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Well, you know the drill. You've been here. You talk right to the viewers, and there's plenty to talk right to them about. And of course, want to start off with the Paw Sox.
Of course you do.
Of course I want to start off with the Paw Sox. We just had Commerce Secretary Pryor in here yesterday.
Yes.
Continuing to push what he said was a good deal for taxpayers in the Senate bill, even after we've seen and heard your comment saying that want to take a step back and that's not the best approach. Talk us through why are they still going with it, this is a good deal, and why are you opposed?
Well, I don't know. You have to ask them why they think it's a good deal. My primary concern is that the citizens of the state oppose the deal, 2 out of 3. So that's of concern to me. We're asking the public to be the partner in a public-private partnership. Mm-hmm. So they've got to be willing partners, and my sense right now is that they're not willing partners. There are areas of the deal that can be made better. I mean, you're talking about the amount of contribution by the owners. There's no personal guarantees. There's a lot of areas in which the deal can be made stronger for the taxpayers, but I think it's for the taxpayers to determine. So what I've been saying is there's got to be an outreach. The Paw Sox have to reach out to the public in a way they haven't done, and see what the public's looking for.
And so speaking of reaching out, they did decide to come right to your district.
They did. They did.
Do you think that they should have been focused more across the state? Was it just a political gamble that they took to say, we're going to go just to the Speaker's constituents?
You know, for some reason people think if you change the mind of the Speaker's district, you know, the bill passes. They could change the minds of the folks only in my district, and if we have a state that opposes it, it's going to make very little difference to me. I believe my district is very reflective of the state. It's a great suburban district. We have very intelligent constituents, and they're reflective of the feelings and the mood across the entire state of Rhode Island. So I think that's a mistake to concentrate on just my district. I think they should have dialogue with the citizens of every district across the state of Rhode Island, and learn from the citizens, learn what the citizens want, because the citizens all love the Paw Sox, but they don't like this deal. So communication can address that, and I don't think there's been enough communication. I think they can learn from the citizens, and then we can fashion something that the citizens in fact like.
So is that the next steps then, with you're saying that you're not supportive of the Senate deal? Is it really for the Paw Sox to sell? Is that the next step that you have to see?
Well, yes, but not exactly, because you can't sell what the public doesn't want. So you have to listen. It's got to be a dialogue. They've got to listen to the public, see what the public wants, what the public is comfortable with, and then work on explaining that to them. And if they have a proposal that the public likes, the public will buy into it and the public will support it, because the public likes the Paw Sox.
True, and we've been talking about the Paw Sox for years now, going back since 15 about this. We're focused so much on a new baseball stadium. We have so many other needs here in the state, and one of the ones I just talked with the governor about, again, this school needs.
Yes.
You know, do we have to kind of step back and see what our priorities are, that there's a lot of other competing interests, and we have a finite amount of money?
We do, and that's one of the problems. I spoke to a prominent professor, an economics professor, regarding this, and there's opportunity cost to money. And you know, we can borrow, but if you borrow in one area, you can't borrow in another area. So we have limited resources. We have a lot of needs. We have to prioritize. We're putting an awful lot of time into the Paw Sox, and I know there's a lot of interest there, but in my opinion, that's elective. School construction is mandatory. Mm-hmm. We have to provide a safe, warm, productive place for learning for our students. So we should be giving that more attention and probably less on the Paw Sox, and addressing the critical needs of our state first. And then we can do the elective items. But they're all important, but some are just a little more important.
That is true. Talk with the governor about her budget proposal. Were you aware that sports betting was going to be on the docket coming from that? You heard it nationally with the Supreme Court case.
I heard it nationally. I believe there's $23.5 million in the budget. I was not aware of that. I'm not sure how realistic that is. I do wish the governor put alternatives in there. If that doesn't materialize, I'm not convinced it's going to materialize. And if it doesn't materialize, there's no alternative, as I believe the law requires, and we're going to have a $23.5 million hole in the budget that we have to address, and we'll address it. But the process should work a little different, a little better than that.
And speaking of alternatives, it's more than 10% of the projected $200 million budget deficit. This isn't a small piece of the budget. This is a big piece of the budget.
$23.5 million is a good chunk of money
big,
for anybody.
It's a big chunk of change. So what is your relationship with the governor these days? Is there open dialogue between you and the governor?
Yes.
Moving forward now with the budget process?
Oh, absolutely. We get along fairly well, I think. I like the governor. I hope she likes me. We get along well. We have a good working relationship. Naturally, like any two human beings, we once in a while disagree. And I've always said I think that's good. You don't want everybody just agreeing for the sake of agreeing. You want different viewpoints. I've always been a believer that the more viewpoints at a discussion, the better your final product. So I think the governor and I have a good relationship and very productive discussions, which serve the citizens very well.
And how are things with the Senate president?
The same. I've always liked the Senate president, and we've had a few dust-ups. There's no secret to that. But we just got together for a dinner, and we set a good tone, and we're going to work together and move forward just fine, I hope.
So let's turn to some news that came out today. The Senate and the House announced a study commission for the line item veto. Of course, we've heard from the line item veto advocates. What's there to study if 44 other states have it? Why a study commission?
Well, first of all, what works in one state may not necessarily work the same way in another state. 44 states have, I think, 44 different versions of line item veto, and they vary greatly. So first you have to consider if it's best under our system, and I have some doubts. And if it will work well in our system, then you have to figure out what version and how you implement it. So there's a lot to study. It's not that simple an issue. Let me just say, people I think support it because they think it's going to save money. You can just strike out money out of the budget. Governor Raimondo said she would not have struck any items out of the 3 budgets that she's overseen. So the one thing she pointed to is possibly 38 studios wouldn't have happened, but Governor Kucheri supported it and drove it through the EDC at the time. So he wouldn't have struck his own initiative out. So it's not the cost-saving initiative that the public thinks, and in fact, it could cause complications. So that's what we're going to look at.
Do you anticipate time frame wise that the commission could come back with something during this session?
Oh yes. We're trying to get our first organizational meeting off for next Wednesday, and if that occurs, I'll try to get a meeting every week or two so that we can get a report out.
And as study commissions go, we see this with marijuana. They're studying the issue, but will there be the potential to see some sort of proposal coming out of it that we could see something on the ballot in 2018 if the commission goes through the process? Should the voters have the chance to decide on what's basically discussed amongst the members?
Potentially. Let's see what the commission comes up with. Let's see what we learn, and we'll make a determination as to how we move forward. It's a learning opportunity from my perspective. We've got a lot of very bright people there. There's some historical perspective, and there's experience in government on the commission. So let's see what they come up with, what their thought process is. I'm always willing to learn and look forward to learning, so I look forward to their product.
So speaking of things that the state is looking to get more information about, as we learned this week, partners in Care New England are moving forward with the potential for partners to come in and acquire Care New England. Now, we've heard from Brown University President Christina Paxson that she's got concerns about jobs. Commerce Secretary Pryor came in and said he's got concern about jobs. The governor said she does. Talk to us about what you're looking at as this moves forward, because the healthcare industry in the state is big, and healthcare jobs are, for the most part, good paying jobs. And we've seen what happens when big organizations come in before. Bank of America and Fleet Bank, they usually tend to siphon off jobs, not necessarily bring them. We're talking about the potential for now patients to potentially go up to Massachusetts. What's your thoughts as this moves forward that's in the best interest of Rhode Islanders?
Well, the legislature doesn't have any direct input or control over this. The administration certainly has a lot more influence over these decisions. I am concerned. I'm concerned about the potential for specialty treatment going up into Massachusetts, and that wouldn't be good for Rhode Island and jobs long term. So I think the administration has to take a real good hard look at this and make the decision that's right for the state of Rhode Island. So President Paxson, I think she has some valid concerns for the state of Rhode Island, her university, and our healthcare system.
So I've got you here in studio now that we're underway with the 2018 session, talking about the Paw Sox, talking about the budget, talking about partners, but what's your agenda this session? What are you looking to achieve in your top items?
My most important consideration is always the budget. The governor proposed the budget. We'll take a look at it. We'll have hearings. We'll invite everybody to the hearings, and we'll listen to folks and make sure that our final product serves our public interest as well as it can, serves the economy, is productive to job growth, and just serves our state as well as it possibly can. So that's always where I put most of my attention. Mm-hmm. Everything else is also important, but the budget is my biggest concern, and you know what my biggest concern within the budget this year will be to make sure the car tax phase out stays in there, and that we give our taxpayers some real relief that they deserve.
Okay, anything else you want viewers to know while we have you here in studio?
No, thank you.
Well, I put you in the hot seat about the Paw Sox, everything going on here in the state, right after the governor. So I appreciate your taking the time to come in, Speaker. I'm sure we'll have you back here soon.
Thank you, Kate. It's nice to be here.
Okay, take care. We'll let you go.
Have a great day.
Okay, thanks. Speaker of the House, Nick Mattiello, back in studio to talk with us. Give us an update as to where things are at as the 2018 General Assembly session is underway. Definitely had to talk with him about where things are at with the Paw Sox. He again recently said that he is not supportive of the Senate version of legislation that was approved in that chamber. Got to chat with the governor about that as well, but looking forward to seeing what else is on the plate here in Rhode Island. We'll be right back here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center, so don't go anywhere.